The Nationals made a team decision on Victor Robles yesterday, and guys, this could be the end of the road for center fielder Victor Robles.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. Get all your latest Nationals news and notes and much, much more. Later on in today's show, the Nationals, they hired a director of player development, and this one was from within the organization, which makes it a little bit more interesting, you could say, considering they just gutted basically their entire scouting department and player development side as well. So I think this is a little bit of an interesting hire. We're going to get into that a little bit later on in today's show, but also as the Victor Robles news happened, the Nationals have rejected the final, or not really the final year, but they rejected the team option for 2025 and Victor Robles, who is eligible for arbitration. Now he, could be the end here in Washington, D.C. We're going to discuss what the future of center field could be, even with all the prospects. But even then, 2024 is a realistic possibility to where you might not have Victor Robles looming the outfield. But before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So the news of the day is actually, we got multiple news of the day, the player development side of it that we'll get into later on, but this one's pretty big because the Nationals did reject the team option, which was about $3.3 million for 2025 on Victor Robles, although he is eligible for the final year of arbitration in 2024, which should make him around $2.7 million for this next upcoming season. But the Nationals, they still have the option to non-tender him. And at this moment in time, if you were to tell me that the Victor Robles experience would be going this poorly, it's kind of a tough pill to swallow, if I'm just being honest, because we all heard about Victor Robles being the guy. He was the prospect in this national system with all the talent in the world. He was great in center field. He can steal bases. He could hit for power. He could do it all. He was really raved about to be this five-tool talent. And after 2019, the Nationals, he won the World Series his first year as a starting center fielder. He was outstanding in the outfield. He was really good at the plate, as his batting average, everything really was just really damn good from what we saw from him in that season. Ever since then, we all know what happened. It's been downhill. The production has fallen off, but here's the thing. The Nationals, they need to make a change over at center field. We know that. This is something that we have kind of known really since 2021. And even then, 2019, about how good it was. It was a great season for Victor Robles. When you're only 21, 22 years old, having that kind of production at the plate defensively, playing a stout center field the way he did also, and really just kind of being that security blanket in the outfield, that was kind of something that the Nationals, they just needed. And here's the thing with Victor Robles, too. When he is so good defensively, he covers so much ground. He has such a great arm. So many different things to rave about when it comes to his defense. That just makes his offensive production and really the bar for that offensive production to drop and drop and drop. We didn't need to have this ultra productive hitting 40 home runs a year center fielder. We never needed that. That was never the ask for Victor Robles. We had Juan Soto to do that. In 2019, you had Anthony Rendon. You had Trey Turner to get all of the bats and all the offense in order. Victor Robles, if he were to just continue his 2019 production, hitting 19 to 20 home runs a season, stealing 20-plus bags every year, playing outstanding defense, Victor Robles in this option, really, there would never be an option. The Nationals, they would be picking him up every single year if he had a 750 OPS, if he were to just continue to hit in a positive aspect and continue to improve. We would never be having this conversation. Victor Robles, the thing about it is that he peaked in 2019. We saw the best version of himself in that 2019 season. Now, you could say that for a lot of different guys. You saw that with Patrick Corbin. Yes, of course, but guess what? He's locked up through all the way in 2024. We understand that. That was also a disaster. But even then, it just kind of sucks to see because the Nationals, this was, again, someone that we were told that it's okay to watch this prospect go. We have this guy coming up. It's okay to have Anthony Rendon walk because Victor Robles is going to come in and have that offensive production just like Anthony Rendon. Not to the extent of him, obviously, but even then, you get the gist. This was going to be someone that we were going to be raving about for years and years and years. Ultimately, that never came into fruition here in Washington, D.C. It just has not. You can't put any more faith into it. It's been years since 2019. You count up 2020, 21, 22, and 23. That's 4 years ever since Victor Robles really had that productive rookie season. It's just a shame, to be honest with you, because in my opinion, it should be about offensive production when it comes to your center fielder. Obviously, you want to see all the defensive talent that, you see him have, Victor Robles. This is kind of something that I never saw coming, though, back in 2019. I thought this was going to be his big climb, his big ascent. And it's a shame, honestly, because this year in the limited action that he had, only playing in 36 games, he was actually not that bad. You saw a different approach. You saw a different swing this year. And they kind of amplified that over in spring training and said, we've kind of switched his approach up. We saw him swinging a lot more strikes and really just kind of simpling down his swing, which we saw a lot less impact for, as he only had like 6 extra base hits all year. He had no home runs this season as well. But even then, his batting average was up to 299 in these 36 games, 126 plate appearances in total. He had an OPS of 750. These were all numbers that we haven't seen from Robles since his 2019 rookie season. Now, if you were to ask me, Ryan, or really you can ask yourself this as well, was this something that you were expect? Were you expecting some Victor Robles breakout this season? No, I was never expecting that. I've seen it with him. Like I've always said, this is just my belief. You can tell me Bigfoot is there. I'm still not going to believe it until I see it. Victor Robles falls along those lines. I have not seen it yet with Victor Robles. I could potentially buy in to a Patrick Corbin breakout or whatever it may be because I've seen him do it. We've seen Victor Robles have a productive rookie season, but even then, the productive rookie season isn't ultra productive. He had a 91 OPS plus, still a tick below average across Major League Baseball. He was still good for a rookie. That's something you can build off of. You won a World Series. He played solid defensively. There's definitely building blocks there for this Nationals team. But it was just never going to work out if he were to continue to kind of slump the way that he has since 2020 over at the plate. And even then, we saw the production through the 2019 postseason. When it mattered most, Victor Robles was not amongst those guys getting the job done. It was Juan Soto, Trey Turner, Adam Eaton, other guys in the offense, Anthony Rendon, Howie Kendrick. Those were the guys getting the production done in that 2019 run. But who is to blame for this? Because this, in my opinion, I always want to know why. Why, what, when, how, where? Where did this go wrong? Victor Robles was like this unmissable talent who had all the talent in the world, being a top 10 prospect that every national reporter out there was raving about him. If you covered farm systems, you talked about Victor Robles. He was on the cover of Name That magazine. Victor Robles was the guy in this system. And at this point in time, the writing is on the wall and his future is in doubt here in Washington, D.C. moving forward. Now, the Nationals, again, they could get him to arbitration. They could settle for a number probably around $2.7 million, whatever it may be. The number and the money at this point is irrelevant because it's really not going to be dependent on the bottom line here. It's not going to make a huge difference for the Nationals' bottom line and their payroll. But moving forward now, you're going to have questions about center field because here's the thing. Victor Robles was still a productive center fielder, meaning he was defensively, he was pretty stout. He made some mistakes. He had some errant throws every now and then. But even then, the talent is there for him to be kind of that defensive guy. So going forward, Victor Robles may not be the center fielder here in Washington, D.C. for that much longer. He very may well not even be a National entering spring trading this upcoming season. But there is still a little bit of value in him. Because when you play that well defensively, going at the trade deadline, you're going to have some value. We've seen the rumors in years past, like the Yankees, I believe in 2022. They were taking calls about Victor Robles needing that defensive center fielder out there. Teams are going to want that who are making a postseason push, as we've kind of seen in years past with Michael A. Taylor and guys like that. Teams want players like that who are so good defensively. You can play any defensive position in the outfield. And also, in Michael A. Taylor's case, he's got some pop. So I think this is going to make for an interesting next really few months. What will the Nationals do with him? What will the Nationals do if they do decide to keep Victor Robles? Could he be on the trade market? But I got my own plan when it comes to center field, and this plan is in-house. I'm going to tell you what my plan would be as far as the Nationals go moving forward to center field. But before we get into it, let me tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel and score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action because the app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. And of course, the Commanders are going up to New England this weekend. You know they're going to be losing that game against Bill Belichick. I don't care what the records say. Bet on FanDuel, and let's do it together. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Now we get back into it as the Nationals made a decision on Victor Robles. And at this moment in time, his future in DC is muddy, to say the least. So what would your and my plan be at center field? Well, as far as this goes, the obvious is there. James Wood and Dylan Cruz, they're cooking down in the minor leagues right now. They're not going to be ready for this upcoming 2024 season, at least as far as opening day goes. But the Nationals, they got one guy, and that is Jacob Young. I would stay in-house when it comes to Jacob Young. And the reason why I think that the Nationals will go this route, really even over some veteran signings, even though I do have a few guys that I think the Nationals could go with in a free agent route. I'll get to those a little bit later on this segment. But if it was up to me, I would see what you have as far as Jacob Young goes. Jacob Young started in 2023, this past season, in High A Wilmington. Then he got all the way up to AAA Rochester, played a handful of games there, got the call up to the major leagues. Now, Jacob Young, while he is a top 30 prospect, is not the most ultra-talented guy, but you've seen his numbers, especially this year, with his average exit velo getting bumped up a lot, getting that notice in Baseball America's recent minor league report. There's a lot of different things to like about Jacob Young, in my opinion. The talent, the base running ability, the defensive ability that he has also, as we've seen him make a lot of web gem plays over the year, covering a ton of ground in center field as well. But even then, I think the Nationals kind of showed their cards with Jacob Young over this season. When you have someone who is a 6th or a 7th or 8th round pick like a Jacob Young, who is a college bat, yes, I understand that. But when you have someone who is that kind of young and really not that highly touted prospect, and you see that they move him up across from A+ all the way to the majors in the span of 1 year, 1 season, not even a year, 1 season. That kind of shows you what they think about Jacob Young and the kind of talent that he possesses. I think the Nationals really do believe in the fact that Jacob Young could become this 4th outfielding type for a good contending ball club. I think he's gotten enough done defensively. I think he's shown enough defensively that you trust him out there in center field. And yes, I remember Josiah Gray had kind of chewing out Jacob Young after that one misplayed center field during a day game. Whatever. That's out the door. That's not Josiah Gray. That's not what Jacob Young does either. But even then, the Nationals, they're showing what they want here. They want to see someone like Jacob Young come in and take this position, because the reason why I don't necessarily think they'll go the free agent route is because of what we were just saying. You don't see guys like that. Look at here. Just look around this. Brady House. Yes, he's skyrocketed this year from low A, high A to double A. Other than that, James Wood started in high A, then just got bumped up to double A. Dylan Cruz, in his case, went from low A, went to double A. All those different guys as well. Yes, there's a lot of guys who got pushed up the farm system a lot quicker this year, but not in Jacob Young's case. This is someone who is still young, who is still really not ultra mega talented. If you look at the hitting numbers besides this year he killed the ball really at every destination that he went to. But even then, the highlighting factor of Jacob Young was what he was doing defensively and the stolen base metrics as well. This guy was flying throughout the minor leagues. He was getting on base. He was stealing bases. He kind of adds that juice and the momentum that the Nationals desperately needed over the course of this season. So the question really is, would you want to see Jacob Young, someone who may have that promise to be a fourth outfielder? Or would you rather go the free agency route? Because there are guys on this list where you could see, well, yeah, this would make sense, having veteran center fielders. And even then, I think the Nationals will go and add a veteran outfielder, whether it be name that guy. But there are a few intriguing names. And the one intriguing name that I do kind of want to look at that could be an option, familiar face, familiar name, Michael A. Taylor. Unrestricted free agent this offseason. This would be an interesting one. Number one, he's familiar with the clubhouse. Number two, he's a great clubhouse guy. And number three, Davey Martinez, Mike Rizzo, they're all familiar with him. He was drafted by Mike Rizzo way back then out of high school, drafted as a shortstop, moved into center field. And we all know defensively, he's kind of got that gold glove aura around him. If you were to play 162 games, there's probably not a better defensive center fielder in baseball as far as Michael A. Taylor goes. He's got the arm. He's got just everything that you want out there defensively. And also, we know this in town, he's got a little bit of a sneaky pop up at the plate. Now, while his offensive metrics may not always be there, it's still an intriguing option because, number one, we love Michael A. Taylor. Simple as that, straightforward. We love the guy. But also, number two, he's going to give you some production. While the offensive production may not be what I want, may not be what you want, may not be what the Nationals want. This is still someone that you can go out there, you know what you're going to get. And also, again, you know that you could trade him at this trade deadline. He's not going to sign this multi-year lucrative contract. It's going to be a 1 year, $6, $7, $8 million deal. Who knows at this moment in time with MAT? But I think the Nationals could go that route. And really, it comes down to these two simple things. Number one, they know what they're going to get with him. They know the kind of production that Michael A. Taylor could have over in center. And the number two, if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, or if Dylan Cruz is ready, or if James Wood is ready and you want them to man the outfield, which is likely going to happen, then guess what? You can trade Michael A. Taylor, and he's going to have some sort of value down the line for this Nationals team, whether it be the 50th best prospect in our organization, or maybe Michael A. Taylor just does really well this year. And guess what? You're going to be signing him to, or not signing him, you're going to be trading him for a decent little prospect there. Nothing crazy, but even then, teams are going to want to value that just like they'll still value Victor Robles because of that defensive aspect of this. But also a few names to watch out, in my opinion, as far as free agency goes. Maybe someone like Aaron Hicks, a switch hitting bat, someone who could come get some power in the lineup as well, play solid defensively in center field, or really any outfield position, as that's what he's done throughout his entire career. And also another kind of big name veteran guy who would also have some value at the trade deadline is someone like Kevin Pillar. We all know the defensive highlights throughout the years with the Blue Jays. We've all seen him. We've loved them. This is kind of something where the Nationals, they could also go a Kevin Pillar route in this sense. You kind of see the gist that I'm getting at. They're not going to make any splash one-year signings, in my opinion, when it comes to the outfield, because you have James Wood and Dylan Cruz. They're in the Raptors waiting, ready to go here in 2024. You don't really want to have someone who you want to see the entirety of a season over. You want to see someone that you can make a decision by July 31st if you want to trade this guy or hold on to him and see what happens. Because you still have Dylan Cruz, you still have James Wood. You're not going to be signing any center fielder at this moment to really man the outfield, unless something is ultra concerning when it comes to Cruz or James Wood, which at this point in their careers, you can't say that at all at this moment in time. But it's going to be an interesting offseason because the Nationals, with Victor Robles, they're going to have to make a decision one way or the other. Do they want him to be in the center field, continue to start batting ninth, whatever that looks like for them, or will they go the different route, try a free agent, try Jacob Young as well? Because again, my prediction at this moment, I think it's going to be Jacob Young who will be that starting center fielder through the duration of the first half of 2024. That's just the way that I think right now. It's the way that I think the Nationals are also thinking through this because, again, you're not just flying someone through the minor leagues from single A ball all the way up to the majors in 1 year if you don't really like the guy. And also, he made a ton of strides this year. He didn't have all that much power in his bat. That's not what he's touted for. But even then, if you're going to put the ball in play, and if you're going to do all the other things right, it's worth a shot for this team because he has the talent. So if it was up to me, 2024 or not beyond, but for 2024, at least the start of this season, I'm going with Jacob Young. I'm putting the trust into him, and I think that would make for an interesting case for center field going forward. And maybe, just maybe, you might find something with Jacob Young, which is what this rebuild is all about. Thank you guys for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And next, the Nationals, well, they did some digging here. They found their director of player development. We'll talk about that after this. And the Nationals, yes, they have hired their director of player development now. That is Eddie Longos, who was the director of scouting operations since 2016 with this national staff. He will now lead the player development side of this operation. This is kind of not the sexiest hire in the world. Obviously, this kind of sticks out to a lot of different people because I saw one account go deep in. He's supposedly the son of Mike Rizzo's former boss up at the Arizona Diamondbacks back in the day. I don't understand why people would say, oh, that's a terrible thing. This is a favor hire, whatever it is. I get what people are saying. I get what you're getting at, but you're not just doing this favor hire anymore. I just don't believe that the Nationals are going this route because it's a favor hire. I think this is someone who probably behind closed doors has been a very loud guy in that room, getting his word out and really just getting all the different things and the knowledge that he has. Since when is it a bad thing to have someone and hire someone within the organization, someone who is young, someone who has worked their way up through the entirety of this organization? Since when has that become a bad thing, especially to hire someone who was a son of a former executive for a successful winning baseball club with the Arizona Diamondbacks back in the day? Since when has this become a bad thing? That's the part which I will not co-sign. Is it a favor hire? Whatever. Even then, at this moment in time, all these guys will have different roles. And at this moment, if really what I just wanted a new change of scenery. Now, am I thrilled that it's within the organization? Not really. This is not really something that I was signing up for. I was hoping they'd go outside the organization for this. But with all that said, they have done that this year. Getting a scouting director from the Arizona Diamondbacks, getting someone to help run the draft from the Baltimore Orioles, who has had such a successful track record already with that MLB draft class. I like it. Like, I'm not going to be upset with this. I think this is going to be someone who just maybe is an analytical minded guy who's going to get the right things and really get all the ducks in the row in this organization. Hopefully, just hopefully find the holes within this system that really hasn't been able to develop guys since Juan Soto. We need to find this big gap that we have within our player development side. We've seen it with Deshaun Watson, even after he wasn't re-signed back here in Washington, D.C., but we did see this farm system take a next step up. Now, it just needs to be elevated even a little bit more and kind of helping these new guys, all the talent that we have refurbished in this farm system to see what they can do with it. Is it going to change overnight? Absolutely not. That's never going to be the case. That will never be the case, in fact. But here's the thing. It gives us a little bit of hope. I like the fact that they're going with this young, ambitious guy, someone who has been in the organization, someone who's familiar with these players, and someone that the players are familiar with as well. It's good to have this kind of continuity. And number one, I think it goes to show you what a good organization does. Because yes, while again, I did want the Nationals to go outside the organization with it, but hiring this young, hopefully bright-minded individual, which it sounds like he is, in my opinion, from all the reading that I've done, I think this is something that could be a little bit exciting. It's a good opportunity for him. It's good to have someone within the organization be hired because it goes to show you the kind of organization trust that Mike Rizzo has. He believes in his own process, and us fans and people covering this team, you can't help but not trust Mike Rizzo from what he has done. He has already started a rebuild before back in 2009. He has completed a rebuild. He's had a near damn decade of dominance here in Washington, D.C., and now he had to re-scrap. He had to get everything, put all the bolts and nuts away, and get back his construction hard hat on, and he's going to be doing it yet again. I trust in that aspect of it. So with someone like Mike Rizzo at the helm, making all these decisions, I think it's a perfectly fine hire for this team. Now, is it going to be something to where in a year from now, if let's say player development doesn't take a step up, whether these prospects don't look all too great, yeah, let's have a conversation. But at this moment in time, if Mike Rizzo is going to trust them, so do I. Simple as that. I'll leave it right then and there. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, Locked On Nationals, it's the Locked On Podcast Network where it's your team every single day. I'll catch you guys on Monday through Friday on Locked On Nationals. I'll catch you on the flip side.